What happens to suicides according to church teaching? What if I told you the church teaches something about suicide that most Catholics still don't know? Something far more merciful, far more hope-filled, and far more beautiful than the internet makes it sound. Because behind the theology, there are real families, real grief, real tears. And today, we're going to talk about what really happens to people who die by suicide, according to the Catholic Church. Before we go deep, I want to share a short story. A woman once told me her brother took his own life. For years, she believed he went straight to hell. No confession, no last prayer, no hope. She carried that fear like a stone in her chest until a priest told her something that changed everything. Something the church had always taught, but almost no one talks about. And that's exactly what we're breaking open today. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Many Catholics were raised to believe suicide means automatic hell. No confession, no salvation. God closes the door on them. But here's the bold claim. The church has never taught that every person who dies by suicide is damned. Not once, not ever. So where did that idea come from? Mostly cultural misunderstanding, not doctrine. The Catechism says something radically different and surprisingly compassionate. Suicide is objectively gravely wrong, but mental illness, severe fear, trauma, or extreme distress can reduce a person's moral responsibility. God sees their heart, their pain, their mental state, their limits. God sees what we could never see, and because of that, we entrust them to God's mercy, fully, honestly, hopefully. The church literally says we should not despair of the eternal salvation of persons who have taken their own lives. That's not a loophole, that's doctrine. Here's the part most people don't consider. Between the act and the final breath, God can work. Think about it. A person who jumps does not die instantly. A person who overdoses often has minutes. A person in a desperate moment still has time for a final, silent turning toward God. God can reach a soul in a single heartbeat, in a fraction of a second, in the tiniest spark of desire for mercy. We don't see that moment, but God does. And the church says there is real hope even at the last moment. A priest once shared with me, a young man in his parish had taken his own life. His mother was shattered, absolutely broken. She kept repeating, he wasn't himself. Weeks later, she had a dream. Not a vision, not a miracle, just a dream. Her son stood before her and said, "Mom, Jesus caught me." When she told the priest, he nodded and said, "The church teaches that Jesus fights for every soul until the last possible second." Was the dream supernatural? Maybe, maybe not. But the theology behind it was real, and it brought her peace. Here's what the church asks us to do for those who have died by suicide. Pray for them. Your prayers matter far more than you think. Offer masses for them. One mass can do more for a soul than 1,000 tears. Entrust them to God's mercy, not your fear. Remember, judgment belongs to God alone, and God is far more merciful than we think. This is not false hope. This is not denial. This is Catholic teaching. Here's the part I want you to sit with. No one is beyond the reach of God's mercy. No one. If you have lost someone to suicide, the church is not your enemy. God is not closing the door on them, and you don't need to carry that fear anymore. The God who left the 99 for the one goes after them too, even in their final moment, especially in their final moment. If you're watching this because you have lost someone, hold on to hope. Pray for them, talk to God about them, and trust, truly trust, that the mercy of Christ is deeper than the darkest moment of any life. If this video helped you, share it with someone carrying the same fear. You might lighten a burden they have held for years. God bless you.